What's up guys? Today I'm reviewing Katana Zero, a new Nintendo Switch game from ASCIIsoft and Devolver Digital. And it's a really good game. It's really cool. Let's talk about the story to begin with. You are an assassin, so by day you're going around doing your job, killing people. Then by night you're going back to your apartment, having herbal tea, watching the news. And then you go to your therapist who gives you your assignments and talks you through all the things you're doing. So it's a really cool, interesting story set in a science fiction cyberpunk universe. The world is really cool, really interesting. There's a lot of good environmental storytelling in there. Some of the locations are really good looking. There's a nightclub with loads of neon lighting, and one of the problems with the story though is that it struggles between being cool and just being weird. And that's mainly when it comes down to the characters. A lot of the side characters are just odd and weird. Some of them are really underdeveloped. I'm not going to go into spoilers or specifics here, but yeah, the characters do kind of let it down. They're a little on the quirky side, so they are likable, but they sometimes feel like less than believable at times. So without going into spoilers, the story has you as an assassin. You've got an ability of precognition, which means you can see what's going to happen, all the possible outcomes of your actions before they happen, and that's how the gameplay plays out. In that it explains how you keep dying and then restarting and trying different things. We'll get into the gameplay in just a bit, but because there's like a time travel, drug and dream sequence elements in this story, it can be a little convoluted, it can be a little confusing at times, but as you progress through it, it does start to explain some of the stuff a bit more. That being said, the story is a little predictable. Once you figure out what's going on, who the characters are, you can kind of see where it's all going and what's going on. But I think this will make a pretty good film. I wouldn't be surprised if it does end up getting a film or some sort of anime or something, because it is cyberpunk, it is dark, it is noir. It's got a good story, a well-paced story as well. So yeah, it would make a good film. But this is a video game, not a film, so the key ingredient here is the gameplay. The gameplay is really fun, really addictive, really fast-paced. What it is side-scrolling, platforming, action, one-hit kill. You're an assassin, you have to go through each level, killing everyone in sight so you don't leave witnesses. You got the ability to use the sword so you can one-hit kill them, but the enemies one-hit as well, they kill you. So you have the ability to roll or phase through laser beams, so you can use that to avoid attacks at times. There's also ability to slow down time, so you can easier deflect bullets, which is a really useful tool. A little challenging at first, but you do get used to it because it forces you to do it. You can also pick up objects like meat cleavers and bottles and stuff like that, and later on you've got like Molotovs and gas grenades, and you can use them tactically to help you get through situations. And it's a really challenging, really tough game at times, particularly towards the end when the difficulty really amps up a bit. Because of that, you end up dying a lot. So it reminds me a bit of Celeste in that when you die, when you fail, you know exactly what you failed on, and it almost instantly just starts you right back where you left off. So as long as you skip the short recap, that shows you exactly what you did. So you're constantly in the action almost, and that's a good thing. But it's not just the action, it's not just going around killing people. There are stealth segments, optional stealth segments as well though. So for example, there's one level where you've got to infiltrate a nightclub. You can totally go through there, hide in the shadows, avoid the lights, avoid the guards' eyeline sight, and it provides a bit of variety, which is good. And I don't want to go into other elements of where the game mixes things up a bit, because I think that's getting into spoiler territory, but there are alternate ways in which you can play this game. And I mentioned earlier in the story how you do go to your home, your apartment, and you do visit your therapist. Those are all gameplay orientated as well, because there's a dialogue system in the game where you can choose what to say in conversations, you can choose the actions that you want to do, and it really makes you feel like you are this character. The character, by the way, is simply called the Dragon. I don't think he's ever given a real name. But it's these therapy sessions, it's these outside of the main gameplay areas where the story really develops and really comes into play. The problem is that the dialogue choices often give you the illusion of choice. This is a linear game with a linear story, and at the end of the day, it has a very set end point, and you're basically just going on the journey dictating how the story's being told, essentially, but it is the same story. So, for example, there is a moment when you arrive back at your home and there's a girl waiting outside who wants to be let into your apartment to look for something. You get three choices: either let her in, question her, or flat out no. And because it's a little girl, because I'm an adult, and I thought, right, this is going to lead to something probably bad later on, I'm going to say no. So this conversation proceeds as you would expect. She keeps wanting to get in, I keep saying no, and then what happens? It just loops right back down to the beginning of the conversation because the game needs and wants you to let her into your apartment. And there's another choice about halfway through the game, which is a really pivotal choice. I'm not going to see what that choice is, but essentially it's one or the other. One choice lets you continue the game, the other choice ends the game there and there. And I chose the one that ends the game there and there, not knowing that it would be the end of the game, by the way. The problem is, why are these choices in the game if the game needs you to do a very particular option? It's a bit frustrating that they are there and presented in such a way. But there are other instances where you can talk your way out of a combat situation. So, for example, early on in the game, you can leave a building where the police have been called in, claiming that there's been lots of violence and murder going on, and you can get out of a combat situation with the police by saying you're a cosplayer and that you're not actually an assassin. So that also leads into the fact that there's a lot of humor in the game, a lot of funny little bits of dialogue and little elements here and there. But also in relation to the gameplay is the controls. The controls aren't difficult by any means, but playing this in purely handheld mode, I never played it on the Pro Controller on TV. When things amp up in difficulty towards the end of the game, you are required to do various moves. You basically need to do every skill and ability you've learned how to do throughout the game. There are certain sections where you have to roll in through a door, avoid a guard with a shield so you can attack him from behind, throw an object, then slow down time so you can deflect a bullet from another guard, then strike, jump, bounce. All the different skills you can possibly imagine in this game have to be done in perfect order, perfect sequence towards the end of the game in certain sequences. And the controls can be a bit finicky when it comes to that. But for the most part, the controls are pretty good, pretty intuitive. So the verdict on Katana Zero is that I liked it a lot. It's got a really interesting story, if not entirely unique or original. It's a bit predictable at times, and it does get a little confusing in places. The choice system, I think, is interesting and well done in places, but it's also flawed at times because it's not really giving you a choice. And the combat is the main key element of this game. The combat is just so fun, so addictive, so fast. Because you're constantly dying, you're constantly in these combat situations. The environments are gorgeous, the music and soundtrack and score is really good as well. I haven't really talked about that. The game's presented in a videotape-like aesthetic, as if you're watching security footage of all these incidents that have happened, and that's kind of plays into why you keep dying over and over again. It's like you're watching the security, then rewinding it, and yeah. It's just a really good, cool, interesting game, and I do recommend you pick it up and give it a go. It's also not that long a game either. It's only about 7 hours long, so perfect length for this type of game because it could have easily outstayed its welcome. So that's Katana Zero. I hope you've enjoyed this review. You should pick up the game. It's not all that expensive. I think I got it for about £15 here on Nintendo Switch. I don't think it's on any other system yet. Pick it up. It's good. You'll like it. If you've liked this review, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @the_Grant_Burton, or you can go and subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment and some feedback down below. I'd really appreciate any sort of support. So, thanks for watching.